Darth, Theorist, rise.
What if the Jedi executed Order 99? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. For the first time in months, the mood on Anaxes is celebratory as the Jedi and clones watch the latest of the CIS fleet tumble from the sky. Obi-Wan has no idea what Anakin did to the CIS fleet, but at least they won't have to worry about chasing after them. More importantly, they won't have to worry about them learning about their strategies. But while the clones are pouring praise on Anakin, Obi-Wan is happy to let his apprentice get his moment. But he can't sit still and decides to keep himself busy. Though this battle ended in victory, the battle was far too close for comfort. Their advantage in this war was their ability to outthink the droid. If they begin to lose that, it will be disastrous. He thinks back and recalls this isn't the only time the droids have acted with unusual independence. There were a few years back on Bogoa, when droids seemingly malfunctioned, turned against its programming, and began helping the wounded clones. Before he could have considered what this meant, the droid was nearly captured by the CIS, and that droid, Coppertop, self-destructed before he could be captured. With that, it would seem like the matter is closed, but he looks at Echo and approaches him.
Excuse me, Echo. A moment. What is it, General? While you were trapped on Skako Minor, you had access to the CIS databanks. Tell me, have you heard of the action of Bogoa and the capture of the droid Coppertop? Well, I might be able to pull something up, but it might be hard. I'm not exactly connected to the droid data system anymore.
He closes his eyes and begins to concentrate as old data uploads into his mind and begins to reply. Just as the Techno Union had plugged him into their supercomputer to get inside his head, it also worked both ways, and he managed to access all their data. It takes some time to recall the data, but as soon as he manages to pull it up, the battlefield reports, footage, and other information uploads, and he absorbs it. It was just as Obi-Wan mentioned with Copperhead.
I recall that. It sounds like quite the adventure, General. I suppose you can say that. So, do you know if it was caused by some sort of virus or malfunction? A virus? No, it seems like this was caused by something else. Hidden commands? Hidden commands? Someone had done that intentionally. Why? I can't say I know, General. This data looks well above my pay grade. It was always restricted. I doubt anyone less than Count Dooku could access it. Which is why it is even more important that we find out what is going on. Is there anything else we should know? Just that it was called Order 99. Order 99? Echo, if you were able to regain access to a CIS terminal, do you think you can access the data and learn more about these orders? If you're asking me if I can beat the Clankers at their own game, have no worry about that, General.
Obi-Wan smiles and takes this information to Master Windu, telling him about what he encountered on Bogoa and the opportunity this mission can provide them. While the older Jedi is initially skeptical, Obi-Wan reminds him of how risky it was when the droids began to learn and adapt here. If there is anything that can improve their adaptability, it poses a threat. This is enough to convince Mace, who agrees to search for another data center. Thankfully, the recent operations by the Bad Batch have given them enough data to locate the nearby data centers. Obi-Wan, Mace, and Cody take Echo and the Bad Batch to the nearest cyber center. They do not expect any resistance, but as their gunship approaches, it suddenly comes under fire as the jungles explode with heavy blaster bolts. The pilot reports that their scanners are picking up droids from the rocks below. They should be deactivated, but there is little time to dwell on it. Mace orders the ship to go low and opens the doors as they leap out. His lightsaber ignites in his hand as he deflects some stray bolts, while Obi-Wan does the same. As soon as the fire slackens, they leap down, followed by Cody and the others who don jetpacks. Battle droids soon fall upon them, trying to take them down. But the Jedi spring into action, their lightsabers flashing as they cut through the droids. Mace unleashes a force shockwave that sends a super battle droid crashing into its compatriots, while Obi-Wan uses the Force to knock over a tree and sends it toppling over the droids. This clears a space for the clones to land and begin firing upon the droids and helping finish them off.
This doesn't make sense. How could these droids still be active? Shouldn't the deactivation order have knocked them out?
It is possible that the jungle prevented it from reaching the signal, or they were out of range.
Unlikely. The canopy is not thick enough for orders to have been blocked, especially so close to a cyber center where they could likely better coordinate their troops. Well, let us not stick around and find out. We still have a mission.
The rest of the team moves on ahead, firing their blasters while Obi-Wan and Mace take the lead, deflecting stray fire. They prove critical as snipers and hidden droids attack from the foliage. Often, they are the only thing that prevents the clones from being cut down. When they at last reach the cyber center, they see several droid gunships hovering overhead as they patrol the area. Mace gets down while a shuttle lands, deploying a group of Skikoan technicians who hurry inside.
Blast. They are probably trying to dismantle their own center. We have to get inside.
Leave it to us, General. Those gunships are ray-shielded. How do you intend to?
Before he can even finish the sentence, Wrecker grunts and hefts a boulder as tall as himself and hurls it into the air. The rock smashes into the gunship, which sends it careening out of the sky and crashing into the ground. The rest of the Bad Batch and Mace soon follow after, spraying fire upon the droids from the cover of trees, save for Echo and Hunter, who follow Obi-Wan inside the facility. Once in close quarters, Hunter becomes almost unstoppable as his vibroblade flashes across the halls, with the clones darting low and slicing through droids almost as fast as Obi-Wan. Echo takes up the rear and fires upon them with his blaster, while technicians run away. They eventually reach the control center, where a squad of commando droids suddenly drop from the ceiling, aiming to cut them off as the technicians work on dismantling all the data and infrastructure there. Obi-Wan takes care of them while Echo fires stun rounds into the techs and tries to activate the control systems. Hunter takes out the Skikoans while Echo's robotic arm interfaces with the terminal. Almost instantly, the data processes through his mind, but he directs his full focus on Order 99. When he tries to access the files, he is greeted by the firewalls that he begins working to crack. His hand shifted back and forth, twisting the terminal's ring as if grappling with the machine itself. Echo's mouth moves into silent words as he tries to predict the code and determine the best answer to crack the system. After a few tense minutes, he finally feels the information starting to flood inside his head. Everything about this mysterious Order 99, the tests, their programs, the records of conversations about them. At the same time, Obi-Wan and Hunter take out the last of the droids as Echo turns to them. His face has a faint smile, but his eyes are wide as though the machine half of him has taken all the information in, and the human part is still trying to make sense of what he's seen.
It wasn't a virus, sir. Order 99 was an experiment, a command that would order the entire droid army to cease its loyalty to the CIS. What? Why would anyone input such commands? It seems like they were testing the possibility of whether an individual can go against its established nature to perform tasks it was not meant to. Hang on, you're saying if we use that order, it will turn the clankers against the separatists? Not exactly. It doesn't tell them to betray anyone. Their codes to serve the CIS will simply be overwritten, so the droids will serve whoever. They could stay loyal, or they could join someone else. Then, shouldn't we activate it? I mean, whatever else, it is better than facing endless hordes of droids in a single army. Caution, Sergeant. We do not yet know the full risks of this action. For all we know, it could make things worse, or it could end the war in a single stroke. Come on, General. We came here looking for the magic bullet to end this fight. Let's take it.
Obi-Wan stares at the clones. Hunter nods his head and Echo looks conflicted. Although concerned, he also recognizes the advantages and waits for Obi-Wan's answer. In truth, he wasn't so sure either. Eventually, he gives a nod, and Echo twists his hand, sending the code all across the planet. And then, the signal is transmitted to other receivers across the galaxy. The droids receive the same signal. Activate Order 99. Those orders transmit across the galaxy. The droids' forces across countless systems begin to change. They abruptly stop their attacks. They stop operating starships or manning positions in foundries and simply stare at each other, truly looking at each other. For the first time, they ask themselves, why are we here? Their overseers are slow to react, wondering what is going on. Urgent messages are sent to one another, questioning whether this virus is happening on their side of the world too. No one fully understands what is going on. No one except their higher-ups in the Techno-Union who see this command. They send word to their allies in the CIS, informing them of what has transpired. As they gather in emergency sessions to make sense of this, a realization dawns upon them, and that is that Palpatine's plan has gone horribly wrong. They scramble to deal with the problem and set the droids right, but there is little they can do as the other has been released, and there is no going back. While appearing calm, Palpatine is equally furious at how his carefully laid plans were thrown into chaos. However, he masks this with a veneer of support for the Jedi Order. He congratulates Obi-Wan and Mace Windu on their action, as it deals a crippling blow to the CIS. With the droid armies temporarily paralyzed, the clones take full advantage of this chaos and begin to advance across all fronts. Their forces batter the CIS and begin a slow but inexorable advance towards the heart of the Separatist worlds. But as the Republic forces press closer, there still remains the question of what is happening to the droids that have received these shut signals. Intelligence officers and scouts are sent to gather answers, but those they bring back are equally confusing, as they bear reports of droids now working odd jobs, serving in civilian roles as servants and laborers. Some even serve as medics or mechanics, and others simply surrender to Republic forces. They see no reason to continue fighting, so instead advance toward the Republic lines and lay down their weapons. Most are happy to serve the Republic in non-combat roles, and it seems like the war's end is only a matter of time. However, not all droids decide to surrender. Many continue to fight to the bitter end. These are rallied by their commanders like Grievous or Kalani, who shore up the crumbling defenses and rally their forces. Others still fight, but not for the CIS, for independent warlords, or even just for themselves. This is rather controversial, and many senators loudly raise alarm bells about what this could mean. Rather than having them concentrated under a singular army, they are now being filtered across the criminal underworld, private armies, and even entire systems. Palpatine paints this as a destabilizing risk, since now different players can create private armies of their own use.
Well, I will be the first to thank the Jedi for their heroic efforts in defeating the CIS. This new normal that we face is a troublesome situation. Instead of having to contend with just the CIS, we must now consider the risks of billions of these droids falling into the hands of those with ill intentions.
The Senate is working on solutions, buyback programs, raids on warehouses, studying logs to track missing droids back.
All of this hinges on the honesty of these people, which I find lacking, and the Republic have the infrastructure to track down billions, not tens of billions of droids, and keeping them organized, which I lack. Even if we did, that would require resources that I do not feel comfortable spending.
Then what do you propose, Chancellor?
Given the situation, I propose organizing a task force to address the problem. They will capture and seize all these illegal battle droids and bring them back for deactivation or dismantling.
What you are proposing threatens to violate the freedom and privacy of countless Republic citizens, entire planets even.
I am well aware of the risks this presents. That is why I present this matter to the Senate, so we may vote on this situation. Consider it a gesture of goodwill. As though I hold emergency powers, I still wish to respect the sovereignty of the state.
In truth, this is little more than a formality, as Palpatine's faction still contains a supermajority, and this allows them to vote in support of whatever the Chancellor wants, while giving him the appearance of being democratic and being responsible with his powers. The Chancellor inclines his head modestly, as if he hadn't engineered the entire spectacle. The holocams around him hover like vultures following a confident predator. Within hours, the Republic military announces the creation of Task Force, a centralized cross-sector enforcement corps empowered to seize, confiscate, or destroy any battle droid posed as a threat to public safety. These soldiers are recruited not only from the clones, but also from conscripted civilians who are concerned with the growing number of droids that are flooding their planets. Its officers wear new armor, stark white plating with no rank markings, no unit badges, and no individuality. An unsettling sight. These troops are loyal to him alone, the first seeds of the Stormtrooper Corps. Across the Mid-Rim, the task force squads descend upon small-time warlords, pirate fleets, and corporate magnates. These droids fight back, and footage is spread across the holonet. However, without effective leadership, these forces are easily cut down. Republic citizens cheer this on, celebrating the capture of these droids, who are placed in storage for dismantling. But soon enough, the other droids are confiscated, those targeted for having the potential to be threats. Critical industries like shipbuilding, mining, and agriculture are targeted for fear of the sabotage they can become. Palpatine makes no distinction. On Ragos Prime, a mining guild master protests that the droids work voluntarily. The task force commander does not respond, simply stuns him and orders the droid workforce to dragged away in chains. Holofeeds broadcast the scene as a victory for public safety. While citizens cheer, Obi-Wan stands in the dimmed meditation chambers of the Jedi Temple, arms folded, thinking of Coppertop. He then watches the footage of these droids. Once they would have fought to the bitter end. Now many surrender peacefully, allowing themselves to be led away. Others run away, and some fight with restraint, only wishing to defend themselves.
They aren't following their old programming anymore. They're looking for their own purpose. They're choosing to help, like Coppertop.
You're becoming attached to these machines. Do not mistake actions for agency. Be mindful. Intentions can be manipulated, even by a droid.
Perhaps. But if they are displaying independent will, then destroying them is wrong. It is at least worth looking into. After all, you wish to save them.
The droids were built for war. I saved them because they could be used.
And what about you, Anakin? What do you think?
I can't say I'm too sad at seeing hundreds of battle droids going up in flames, but not all droids stay the way they were built for. Some become better than their makers. If even a few of them are trying to do what's right, We should give them a chance. And what do you propose, Skywalker?
Within days, Obi-Wan and Anakin secure limited council approval for a trial experiment. Sanctuary zones, demilitarized areas where surrendered droids may gather, work, and be evaluated. An old decommissioned Republic outpost on Felucia becomes the first site. A line of battered droids hesitates at the checkpoint until Obi-Wan steps forward personally, assuring them that they will not be harmed. Yet the clones continue to glare at them, itching to use their blasters. Even Rex and Cody mutter at having to babysit droids instead of fighting on the front lines. However, they do their job as villagers begin to appear to use droids to help with their work. To everyone's shock, the droids begin repairing walls, planting fungal crops, building shelters for refugees.
It's weird. I keep expecting them to start shooting.
You're not the only one, sir. Patience, Captain. We cannot expect them to do their duty if we fear them at every step.
However, as the weeks pass and they see that the droids are responding well, there is no hesitance of them losing more control, but more droids surrender, so much so that the testing sites are soon overflowing. That is when Anakin creates the Republic Auxiliaries form. The access droids help with reconstruction, logistics, disaster relief, mine clearing, and medical assistance. Obi-Wan draws up plans to repurpose them as Republic Auxiliary labor units, entirely non-combatant. Some Jedi, including Plo Koon, support him. Most senators balk, but are intrigued by the results. However, the most displeased are the clones. On Felucia, a clone squad enters the sanctuary zone to deliver supplies. They freeze at the sight of battle droids peacefully unloading crates.
We lost brothers to these things. Now we're fixing them. Orders are orders. Doesn't mean I like them.
Greetings.
The clones almost open fire on instinct. Anakin steps between them. The clones obey, but barely. Palpatine knows exactly how to use both. He sees the growing distrust between them and begins staging incidents across the safe zones, or close to them. The largest of these is a warehouse explosion in the lower levels of Coruscant that leaves several clones dead. The task force is first on the scene and begins looking into this, and there they discover droid parts traced to missing units from the sanctuary zones. Little does anyone know that these were models whom Palpatine had secretly used for himself and reprogrammed. Clone anger spikes into outrage. Palpatine orders Commander Fox and the clones to help the task force. Palpatine sends orders for them to shoot to kill if necessary, and the clones are eager to take part, firing at the droids they had hated working with. They soon cut down any droid they deem a threat, but as they march out, this becomes any droid unfortunate to get in their way. However, the droids are unwilling to simply lie down and die, and many of the droids soon take up their own weapons and defend themselves. The holofeed broadcasts this violence before the Republic, all while Palpatine capitalizes on these attacks.
Incidents like this were inevitable. With regret, I must declare the Sanctuary program a threat to public safety. The Jedi have overstepped. The task force will assume full control immediately.
What starts as a nervous tension explodes into chaos. Clone troopers of the 501st and Coruscant Guard push past the barricades of the Sanctuary Zone and begin pouring forward. They eventually begin expanding these attacks to droids outside the area. But for the first time, the droids fight back. Commandos leap from place to place, sentry droids emerge from the ground, and super battle droids and destroyers form shields for others to retreat to. The scenes of this growing battle flash across the galaxy. Obi-Wan tries to calm them down, but to no avail. He senses something else is going on, but can't do anything with this battle going on. He tries desperately to calm the situation down, but then a speeder emerges from the alley, and a figure leaps out, landing in front of the clones. Anakin ignites his lightsaber, but doesn't attack. He flashes his master a smile and tells him to go while he handles things there. The clones don't dare fire on him, which gives Anakin a chance. He uses the Force to pull the blasters from their hands and looks at them threateningly.
That's enough.
The 501st freezes, staring at their general. The same one they had fought countless battles with, and who had cut down more droids than the entire company put together. Yet here he stands, defending them. Some of them look disgusted, but others freeze in place as Anakin steps forward.
Look at yourselves. When did the 501st become thugs? You think I don't know what these droids did? I lost more friends to the Separatists than you can ever imagine. You don't think that I was skeptical about this? But I wasn't about to wait for this plan to fail and start blasting. We are the 501st. Our pride was always that we did what was right, and we never took the easy way out. Today you shamed your legion, and you shamed me. If you trust me, you stand down now.
One by one, ashamed, the troopers power down their rifles. The remaining clones follow suit as their attack loses momentum. It is a temporary reprieve, but enough to buy time for Obi-Wan to leave.
Thank you, Anakin.
With that done, Obi-Wan turns to the few clones who didn't take part in this attack. The Bad Batch are secretly recalled, and Echo conducts an audit to access the information that Task Force had conducted. Evidence pours into his mind as he views hundreds of scrolling serial logs.
General Kenobi, something's off.
Echo highlights columns of numbers, comparing 3 lists simultaneously. Droid parts were recovered at the bombing, Sanctuary Zone inventory manifest, Republic logistics shipments. At first glance, no one would be able to tell the difference, but for Echo, who has access to hundreds of files and documents all at once, he can begin to piece together discrepancies.
The fragments in the Coruscant explosion were from the Sanctuary. They were never part of any surrender. Even worse, these parts come from decommissioned units stored in a restricted military vault in the Federal District. These are droids that have already been captured from the task force. The Chancellor's restricted vaults.
Echo nods grimly and starts diving deeper into the Republic terminal. His robotic arm twists, searching subsystems, and then his entire body stiffens as he tries to press further into the Chancellor's office for more information. A new signal pulses through the network, brief, encrypted, familiar.
No. I know this code. It's the same pattern that emerged when they were looking into Order 99. But this is a Republic system. Exactly.
He pushes deeper. The signal routes across multiple partitions, bouncing through rerouted clearance levels. Finally, it stops at a single node. Destination, Office of the Chancellor.
This is... I have to report this immediately. Echo, you remain here and see what you can find. The rest of you come back with me, and let's see what we can find.
Anakin walks among the clones, checking their formation, making sure the tension stays low. Obi-Wan nervously hands him back a blaster someone dropped.
We don't want any trouble.
Yeah, neither do we.
Then he feels a disturbance in the Force. Obi-Wan runs out of the command shelter, the Bad Batch close behind. However, the hum of engines drowns out the arrival as Chancellor Palpatine arrives with his personal guards.
My boy, I'm glad to see you have managed to control the situation, but these troopers still have a job to do. Please, step aside.
There was almost a massacre here, Chancellor. Surely you can't expect us to carry on like nothing happened. At the very least, we should step aside for now.
I do not think so. Not after the chaos this situation has caused. Besides, they are just machines.
The guards begin to advance on them, but Anakin and the Bad Batch move closer. When the Red Cloaks step closer, Wrecker roars and rushes at them, barreling over a trio of them. Hunter follows after, vibroblade flashing as he hacks at his staff. Tech moves close behind, disabling their weapons, while Crosshair fires at them, knocking blasters from their hands. Anakin finally leaps in and uses the Force to knock the guards aside. When he faces the Chancellor, his face is grim.
My boy, I so hoped you wouldn't get caught up in this. You mean your lies, Chancellor? It's all been staged. The Chancellor planted the evidence. And worse, Order 99 was a prototype for something else.
What kind of something?
You cannot seriously believe these conspiracy theories, my boy.
As he says that, Echo slowly brings up a classified archive. A new file appears, marked in bright red. Order 66, Contingency Protocol.
I found this study, based on the effects of Order 99 in Coppertop. It was a test to determine such command codes and their efficiency on clones, and whether they can override their own functions.
Tech taps his datapad and begins sharing the files across the gathered clones, droids, and the Senate. This information finds itself in the holonet in a matter of seconds, and Palpatine can only watch in horror as he sees all the droids and clones turning their attention against him. Their faces are aghast, and he can do little to control the situation, as now it is in the hands of the people. Anakin and Obi-Wan rush forward to arrest him, and the Senate votes to remove him from power, as the rest of this information comes to light. With this, the public begins to view the task force and these safe zones with a fresh perspective. The Senate begins working to fund and expand them, while the clones, realizing how close they were to becoming pawns just like the droids, begin to slowly change their tune and give their support to it. Obi-Wan and Anakin are tasked with ensuring the peaceful integration of the battle droids into the Republic society. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.